So we just had the opening presser for the Scott Arniel hiring, and let's talk about it because I actually thought there was a lot to unpack within this presser, especially for the Winnipeg Jets, who are normally a very guarded organization. Let's start with the fact that the org is now openly discussing just how bad that locker room had gotten 2 years ago. I remember 3 years ago and 2 years ago, I was called the Winnipeg Jets QAnon for passing on that reality as I was talking to people around it. That happened. The Jets' former core, led by Blake Wheeler, had falling out. They moved on, but it's good to see that the org is at least acknowledging all that stuff now and talking about why they're proud of some of the movement from the last couple of years. I think that's important. On Scott Arniel himself, obviously a ton of questions about his viability as a candidate. No other organization has really looked at him as a serious candidate. His Columbus days went so poorly. We've seen Mike Commodore's tweet, which is fucking hilarious, to be honest. We've heard Jacob Voracek call him the worst coach he's ever played for. Like, there's a lot of bad blood in the air when it came to his previous tenure. And it was nice to see, again, I feel like this org hasn't always been straightforward with accountability, with telling it the truth, with telling it how it is. It was a nice change to see Scott Arniel attack those questions head on and put the onus on himself and realize he wasn't ready for that opportunity. He made a lot of mistakes, and there's a lot of stories. So to see that kind of growth is what you want to see if you're a fan. That stuff was good to hear. I'm a big believer this team needs to go younger next year. So to hear his opinion on the youth of today being vital to NHL success was comforting. I feel this organization has this draft and develop mantra, but if you look at the last 5 years, who have they developed? That's a regular. This is an area that this org has really fallen off from, and they need to put their young players in a position to succeed if they are going to take another step. So again, touching on that and at least putting it out there that it's vital, and we can look back on that, because if he doesn't follow through on this stuff, that's part of how we're going to critique a coach and a GM, right? So that was good to see. Little disappointing, but expected, as I'd heard some things as well. They only interviewed 3 candidates. It sounds like it was Arniel for like 5 hours. Arniel talked about Berube and Todd McClellan. Now, Friedman's reporting they had a really good interview with Dean Evison. I've heard from some people around Flin Flon that he was told he was going to be a serious candidate there, and like they did speak, but he was expecting to be more involved in the process after the Worlds, after Prague. So I don't know how that all went down. It's all behind the scenes, but so that part I'm a little disappointed from the top of the org that you put such a small circle to be interviewing right now. Minor thing. Well, not really minor, but the negative of this for me. I think the absolute biggest takeaway, and it's so telling from years past, and I'm hopeful now for years forward, is that they've come out and said today, because Scott Arniel would really like to implement more collaboration with getting information of analytics and data into the coach's hands and being able to explain it to the players. And it's funny because if you follow my content, if you follow me on Twitter, I really do break down on Twitter, especially threads breaking down the numbers. And I'm not a big I'm not a numbers geek, let's say, like how analytics people are described. But I like to try and get people to bridge that gap, because what I found when I learned analytics as a hockey guy, as a hockey player my whole life, was a lot of the analytics were just putting a number behind what all my best coaches were really wanting out of the team. So the fact that the Winnipeg Jets, a team that is a market that's disadvantaged as far as location, attracting players and such, the fact that they're not implementing analytics top down in their organization in the year 2024 is disgusting. Like, it's a big whiff on their part. But it is good to see Scott Arniel wanting to progress that. They're like 5, 6. They said that they're 5, 6 years behind how much value that data has become. It's like 10 years behind the actual NHL curve. Like we got to speed this up here. But that again, that's the kind of thing I want to hear. If the Org's going to take another step, that's important. Minor thing for him to brag about Kyle Connor playing to the system, not buying it. But on the analytics side of things, like it's like anything. You want as much information as possible when you're making these decisions, and when so many decisions have flown in the face of reality for so long, this is encouraging. Now, we'll know very early next year how much they're taking that serious, because if we see another season of Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele playing together, it's probably a crock of shit, in my opinion, but we'll see where the offseason goes. This was probably my favorite press conference from the organization as far as how open and honest and showing the direction they would like to start taking some more things. But it's important to remember these are just words at the end of the day. Now we need the work to begin. Now we need to start taking these steps. Today was a good start. Chevy's got a big summer in front of him. Freeman's talking about him trying to sign Sean Monahan, which would be a very bad decision to start the offseason. So we'll see where this goes. Just wanted to check in with some thoughts on that opening presser. If you haven't gone to watch it in whole, I definitely recommend it if you're a Jets fan, because I think there's a lot to take out of this one.